Good morning. Here we are in the extreme southwest corner of Wales at Pembroke Dock on Milford Haven. This is an unusual place. This is a little maritime museum that's run entirely by volunteers. They've got an eclectic bunch of boats in here in all sorts of stages of reparation and decay and repair, and they've also got a Tenby lugger. And this was the little archetypal working boat of this area. I'm going to go sailing on that in a minute, and that's really what I'm doing here, but I'm fascinated by some of the rest of the stuff they've got. They've got an amazing lifeboat here, which I'm going to have a good look at in a sec. In fact, we might go and have a look at that now while the boys are getting the lugger ready. Let's go in and see what there is. When you walk in through the gate, the first thing you see is this mighty lifeboat, and this is a 1909 pulling and sailing lifeboat with an engine. This was the first motorised lifeboat in West Wales. The money was supplied by Charterhouse, the great public school, and when you look at this boat it just makes you realise how far we've come, and also how far we as seamen on the sheer muscle front have probably degenerated. The primary source of power for this really was rowing and sailing, and 12 lusty Welshmen would get on the sweeps and propel this vessel into the teeth of a gale. If the engine was working, that was great, but it was a petrol engine, and in those days engines weren't that reliable, so it was great when it worked, and when it didn't they managed without, and they saved lives. When you look at the sheer size and weight of the vessel with its two great buoyancy cabins fore and aft, you realise how strong these fellows were and how strong their hearts were to keep pulling when all must have seemed lost. It's a remarkable vessel, and it's great just to stand alongside it here and consider the passage of time. And here's the Tenby lugger. These boats were originally built as fishing boats. Tenby, the port just over the hill here, and just offshore is Caldy Island. It's a very, very pretty place. As time went on, these boats were superseded by, actually, in the fishing, Brixham trawlers, which were bought in and brought up here. They could stand further offshore, they could stay at sea overnight, and in general speaking, they could bring a lot more fish into harbour. So the boats were redundant, and the guys who ran them, they still did a bit of inshore fishing, but they really ran them as tourist boats in the summer, and they did really well with that, taking the gents in Edwardian dress out to see the island and experience a little bit of time at sea. So the boats kept going for a long time. There really were none left, except for a few frames here and there that were still lying around in the mud. But the boys discovered the shape of the boat properly and actually some plans, and they built a new one, and that's what they've done, and that's what we're seeing now. This is a perfect replica of the original Tenby luggers, and this is the boat I'm going to be going sailing in soon. Right, we're on the ladder, that's more like it. Sailing luggers is a pretty active sort of thing, really. They're very organic boats, and we're ripping along here. We've just taken a nice gust of wind. I've got the sheet in hand. It's very tempting just to make it up and walk away from it, but I don't know the boat well. She's heeling nicely. I'm watching the water, and I think I'll just ease a bit of wind out the main there, just to keep her on her feet, because she's lively. David's steering a nice steady course, and quite right too. He's resisting the temptation to stuff her into the wind when he feels her heel, because he's a good helmsman, and it's down to me really to keep the boat on her feet. And she's just reacting so beautifully. So the boat's classically built. We can see here she's got, basically I suspect she's framed up on these sawn frames with futtocks, and they'll be built right down to the bottom and probably bolted through the keel, and then strengthened up with steam timbers which are riveted. I don't know what the rivets are, they're probably copper, and that's a classic way of building a Carvel boat, and they've done a fine job here. The boat's great. When you feel the beam of it, it's very gusty conditions, the wind's up and down like a yo-yo, and as she heels over you just feel this extra beam just putting some guts into her, and she doesn't want to go any further, she just sails on. It's just a great little boat. I was chatting to Phil just now about how he'd ballasted the boat, and they started off with good traditional bags of heavy stuff, but he couldn't maintain the bilge and they kept getting soggy, and quite right too. So they put some steel plates down there, and they've got about, he reckons about 1,200 pounds of steel plate in there, and it's doing a good job. But he also says that she sails better when she's got a few people in her, and we've got a nice, whoa, took a header there, sheet in, and away we go. Interesting looking at the mizzen, because it's quite a sexy sail actually. I love this sail, but it's not setting terribly well at the moment, and the reason for that is I've just been chatting with Stefan about it, and he's just dug up, and we were looking at it and we thought that the sprit was too low down on the mast. Yeah, that'd do it, wouldn't it? But this could be you could get 3 inches there, couldn't you, if you redid the ropes? Yeah. Yeah.
Makes sense.
And that braille could do with its proper sheave up there, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, considering they've rigged it from scratch, they've done jolly well, haven't they? These are details that we're picking up. It's all right, isn't it? Arriving late on the scene and having all the answers. There's always one of them, isn't there? And that's the best we can do at the moment. But
peak up a bit better, isn't it?
yeah, it is. It's without setting better now, but we've still got that nasty crease across it. And this is the first outing really, and Phil and the boys haven't really got it sorted out yet, which is quite understandable. But it's interesting just seeing what goes on. So we made a bit of progress there, and the mainsail's setting beautifully now. That's it. And as the wind goes back again, I'll be able to ease that sail. But I think we're going to have to bear away a bit, David. So if you want to go down towards the ship now, the bows of the ship down there, that should do us nicely. And on we go, making grand speed. When I used to sail the Yorkshire Cobble in the Mediterranean, that's another story I might tell you about sometime. Those boats were nearly always sailed with sheet in hand. Same sort of thing really on a gusty day, because you can't ever be sure. There we go. Oh, lovely. She's absolutely flying now. Great. I love luggers.
We've been heading on.
No.
Oh, we're going home now, are we? Oh. We'll go to Ireland.
Well, I made it back from Wales today. Stayed last night and drove back early this morning. I was looking at the video just now before I started working on these two lizards for my boat, and I love that image that we've got. You know, the one that we ended up with of the water streaming past the boat as she cannons along through Milford Haven. What a lovely sight. It stirs a sailor's heart, doesn't it, to see a boat sailing like that. And it stirs your heart too to think of those people in the west of Wales with that wonderful museum. All done through sheer enthusiasm. Nobody gets paid. It's all done for love of the ships, the boats, the sea, and the comradeship that brings us all together. How's my lizard doing? Yeah, that's okay.